Now that you know a bit more about the function editor, you can start to use it in different places in Vue, and some you might not have thought of. One of those places is actually in your atmosphere editor for creating clouds. So I'm going to go to the atmosphere editor now, F4, or you can go to atmosphere and go to the atmosphere editor. We're going to take a look at the clouds. Now in this specific scene we have clouds standard and cumulus, and what we could do is for this cumulus we can double click on our preview, which will bring up our actual material editor for our clouds. And if you notice right here, it's set up just like any other material is. So, with that case, we can right mouse click and go Edit Function, which will bring up the function editor for our clouds. And as you can see, we have 3 different nodes, all linked to position, and one for color, one for bump, and one for transparency. And transparency is probably going to be your most important one, because that's going to define pretty much the size of your clouds and things like that. But the actual depth within themselves are defined by these 2 noise nodes right here. So we have a fractal node for our transparency, and we have 2 noise nodes, one for bump and one for our color. And since our color is actually based on just pretty much white right now in a grayscale, if we take a look at our actual material editor, we note that there is no color node in here to define color, because it's all pretty much just black and white for clouds. So we could go in here and even just edit what we already have, and we have this set to basic repeater right now, Perlin noise gradient, and we could change how often that's repeated, and the scale of the clouds overall, and then also our amplitude. And we can also see our preview showing up here on the side over here as we make changes in the function editor. So this is a great way to make some clouds where you want to add a little bit more to them. We can change our combination, and now we have a bit more. We could do multiply and see how that looks. And you can go in and define your clouds as you want. We also have math nodes that are linked to the bump and to the transparency. And we have vector operations, rotation and twist. And we could edit that amount, which is going to give us the ability to edit the twisting motion or our rotation. And close that out. And we also have a math node for rotation and twist on this fractal node, so we could also change that as well and watch whatever effects come about. So if we look at our preview now, we can see those extra little changes that came about by editing that math node. Now we also have lots of different variations for these math nodes. If we take a look on the left right here, we could change our measure operation for those math nodes. And you can see we have rotation and twist selected. Above that is offset, below it is projection. And if we deselect this and take a look at our right side, we're going to have offset, projection, and all those minor operations to the right, which we can just select by going to this right side. But if we were to select conversions, and we could select one of those, we could also go down and select that as well on the right side, and just select some of these other operations. So there's a lot you can do with math nodes, and you just kind of want to poke around and see exactly what you want to do with it, and what effect you might get by using them. But pretty much the best way, if you want to learn certain techniques of certain cloud layers, is to pretty much just open other atmospheres and take a look at the function editor for those clouds. So if we load in an atmosphere, and we'll even load in an animated one. And actually this clouding over Montana is pretty nice. We'll click OK. And now we'll go up to Atmosphere, Atmosphere Editor, and take a look at our clouds. And we're going to grab this one cloud layer right here, and double click on it, right mouse click and go to Edit Function. And we'll be able to see exactly what they did to create this cloud layer. And as you can see, we have a noise node, and we have a fractal and another fractal, and then another noise node on the end. And we also have math nodes with rotation and twist on them. And we also have our combiner node. So we're combining two separate nodes for our transparency. So you just want to go in and take a look and see what a lot of the presets have, because you can learn a lot about certain techniques and it's probably the best way to learn any of these functions is just to really take a look and see how other people have done it, and then you can just play around with some of the settings that are already here and see how that affects it in the scene. And you could even start out your scenes that way, selecting something you like, but you kind of want to change a little, and then you could go in and edit specific parts of that function of the material and kind of give it your own look. So you can just go through, and as you can see here, we have all these different settings. But if you notice too, none of these are linked to time. And that's because our clouds are entirely controlled within our atmosphere editor under cloud animation. So the velocity and the rate of change and the direction. So none of that has to do with our function editor at all. So we can create really nice animated skies without having to use the function editor, which is a really nice thing about the atmosphere editor.